Alright, part 2 of section 4. We're going to deal with, first part is inverse properties. Now let's kind of go back to like inverse of 3, multiplicative inverse. If you multiplied 3 times its inverse, 1/3, what happens? Kind of cancels out, right? Cancels out, boom, boom, done, you're left with 1. Well, this is something similar. When you deal with logs and exponential functions, you have kind of the same idea. So let me give you an example. Number 1, let's say log base 2 of 2. What is that answer? What does that mean? 2 to some power equals 2. Answer is 1. It's kind of like they canceled out in a way. Alright? So 2 to some power equals 2. That power is 1. Remember, the log is equal, it is a power, okay? Now, what do you think this is? Log base 2 of 2 to the 3rd power. What about that? Log base 2 of 2 to the 3rd. What does that mean? That means, off to the side, 2 to some power, we'll call it x, equals whatever is right here. 2 to the 3rd. Well, what does x have to be? Well, look at this. X has to be 3, right? 2 to the 3rd equals 2 to the 3rd. X is, the answer is 3. Look what happened. You could think of it like this. If you see log base b of b, you see how those two are the same? Those can't, let's say log base b of b to the, we'll say b to the x power, okay? Log base b of b cancels out. Those are inverse functions. Log with a base b of b is like this right here, 1/3 and 3. These are inverse functions of each other. Okay? So they cancel out and you're left with this guy right here. This is what's left over, right? Log base b of b cancels out, you're left with x. Look, log base 2 of 2 cancels out, you're left with this guy right here, which is 3. Log base 2 of 2 to the 1st, you're left with 1. Okay, you see the property there? So there's another property though. So know that property. That's kind of easy one. If you see log base 2 of 2, everybody usually gets these ones right here. The other property, property number 2, it looks like this. Let me just give you an example first. 3 to the power of, which looks weird, log base 3 of x. 3 to the power of log base 3. These two are inverse functions. 3 to the log 3. Okay? So what happens is this and this cancel out. You're left with x. Okay? 3 to the log 3 cancels out. So here's in general. So if you had 2 to the log base 2 of x, so 2 to the log 2, this and this are inverses of each other. Okay? Just like this and this. Log base 2 and 2 base are inverses. Log base 2 and 2 base are inverses. They cancel out. You're left with whatever's left over, x. So here's in general. You should circle this one and say that's an inverse property. B to the log base b of b. And then this is the other one. If you have b to the log base b of x. B to the log base b cancels out and you're left with just x. There's the other inverse function. So we're going to do some things that require you to understand these two inverse functions. Alright, here we go. Let's see. Alright, so 10 to the log of 4. 10 to the log of 4. Maybe it's easier to do the other one first. Look at this. Log base 5 to 25. Nah, it's easier with this one. What does this really mean? You don't see a base here, do you? This means log base 10. Okay? So this is 10 to the log base 10 of 4. Look at that. 10 to the log 10. Those two ideas are inverses of each other. They cancel out. You're left with your answer is 4. What about this one? This one takes a little bit of work, so understand the logic behind this, because this is something more like I'll give you. 5, so it would be nice if this had the same base. It does, doesn't it? This base is 5. Couldn't I make 25 equal to 5 to something, right? So I'm going to rewrite it. Log base 5. Instead of 25 to the x, what's 25 the same as? 5 squared, right? 25 is 5 squared, but I still have an x power up here. So I'm going to put an x right here. That's 25 to the x power. Now let's kind of simplify that a little bit. Log base 5 of 5 to the 2x power. Right? You got to know your rules of exponents. Now look at this. Log base 5 of 5 to the 2x power. You guys should know your inverse property and say, okay, log base 5 of 5, well, those cancel out. Those are inverses of each other. You're left with whatever's here. 2x. Answer, 2x. Okay? There you go. We just use a couple inverse properties, know how to use those. Okay? Moving on. Alright. Oh, here we go. Find the inverse functions. I like these right here. Okay. Find the inverse. Y equals 6 to the power of x. Star this because people really screw these up. Just being honest. Okay. Y equals 6 to the power of x. How do you usually find an inverse, right? I taught you this last time. You switch x and y and then solve for y, right? So let's switch x and y. Y, oops, didn't do it already. Switch x and y. So x equals 6 to the y. X equals 6 to the power of y. Question is now, how do you get y by itself? Look at that. This is what people don't understand. How do you get y by itself? Y is an exponent. Now, you can't divide by 6. That doesn't work. Y is an exponent. So therefore, how do you get rid of 6? You do the opposite of 6. What's the opposite of base 6? That's what this last question was about. The last one. The inverse functions. What's the inverse of 6 to the y? Log base 6. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to take the log of both sides. Okay? So I'm going to leave some space. Let me rewrite this. X equals, I'm going to leave a space, 6y. Right? That's the same as what's above. Instead of dividing by 6, that doesn't work. We're going to log both sides. Log this side, and we're going to log this side. I'm doing the same thing to both sides. Just like sometimes you divide both sides by 2, I'm going to log both sides. By what? What base though? Base 6. Base 6. Why did I log base 6? Why did I do that? To get rid of, you see that 6? Look what happens now. What's log base 6 of 6? They cancel. They're inverses. So what's left over? If those two cancel, y is left alone by itself. So we got y by itself by logging both sides. Pay attention to that. I usually have to do a few of those for people to get it. So you can rewind, do it again. Okay, how do you get rid of a base? Okay, just think about this. How do you get rid of a base? You log both sides. Okay, that's how you do it. So log, this is just log base 6 of x on this side. You don't have to do anything. It's done. Y equals log base 6 of x, and y equals 6 to the x are, these two things are inverses of each other. Okay? Alright, letter B. Natural log. Okay, finally get a natural log one here. So what I like to do is I like to actually change it when I'm doing the work. I like to change it to log base e. For some reason it just helps me feel like I know what I'm doing. Okay, y equals log base e of x plus 3. Now what do you do for inverse? You switch x and y. So x equals log base e of y plus 3. Now, here's the deal. What do you need to get? What do you need to get right here? You need to get y by itself, right? Get y by itself. You can't subtract 3 right now. Okay, you need to get rid of a log base e. So question is, how do you get rid of a log? Well, look at this. How did you get rid of a base? How did you get rid of base 6? You logged it. So it's the opposite here. How do you get rid of a log? You base both sides. Okay, that's what I say. The book doesn't say this. The book doesn't exactly do this, what I do. So, but I'm trying to show you logically what happens. How do you get rid of a log? You base both sides. So what I'm going to do is this. E is now a base, and this becomes an exponent. So e to all of this is equal to e to all of this, which is just x. See what I did? See how I made both of these? I based both sides by e. Okay. Let me show you. Let me show you what I mean. I'm just going to write something simple. 5 equals 5, right? Doesn't that mean the same thing as? Wouldn't this also be true? 2 to the 5th equals 2 to the 5th, right? Same thing. That's what I did down here. X equals log base e of all this. That's the same as me just throwing two bases down here. That would mean the same thing as, this would keep it true. E to the x would be the same thing as e to all of this. So I base both sides. I know I'm spending a lot of time saying this, but this is what people miss the most. So try to understand why I did what I did over here. Try to understand why I did what I did over here. Why did I do that? Look at this. E to the log e. What happens? They're inverses. They cancel. What's left over? Y plus 3 is left over. Okay. Is equal to e to the x power. All you have to do is get y by itself. So, therefore, minus 3, minus 3. How do you write it? Y equals minus 3, e to the power of x minus 3. Circle your answer. That is your inverse of this. There you go. Please go back on that one and try to do a few of those in your practice, in your homework, otherwise, okay? You'll be a lot better.